What up? It's your boy Dave. You watching DaveBeyondTV, where we go beyond the everyday bullshit that we consume it on a day-to-day basis. And I wanted to jump on real quick talking about gifts, talents, attributes, and things that are unique to you. You know what I'm saying? This is like spirituality at its core. Talking about individuality. That's really what spirituality is, because you as an individual being, you got a certain history, you know what I'm saying, or a mystery to you, right? Your story. However you want to word it, but it doesn't matter. You have a you know, again, a story that you've been telling over the course of your experiences as a being in different bodies. This is why in this present time, especially if you're kind of spiritually aware, you have certain inclinations towards understanding maybe where you have been in the past life, and even looking at astrology, certain things like the South Node can give us hints to certain energies, and also South Node stelliums, and just understanding the nature of your chart in general, the human natures that you picked this time around, what kind of signs and things of that nature you were using, energies you were using to compile your experience in this time. All these different things are indicators to spaces you've been as an individual that other people may not have been. You know, other beings are in different places, and the beautiful thing about being in this experience that we have, right, is being able to expand by relating to one another, understanding, oh, this is where you came from, this is where I came from, your individuality plus mine, we can create a whole third energy that we've never experienced before, never existed, you know what I'm saying? This is, again, sometimes we even deal with partners that we've been trying to create with for eons, or maybe successfully, maybe not as successful in past lives and things of that nature. And even when y'all reconnect, there's certain energies that spark, that give you new ideas towards, you know, how you could actually prolong or just create something new, you know what I'm saying? Expand the universe in a positive, in a beneficial way. So, you know, all that aside, like I said, so we're all given gifts, attributes, in a particular perspective on everything that's going on around us, because as a spirit, you are the one orchestrating everything. You're watching everything, observing, you're looking at all these different pieces that you put together, right? And so this is where you are expanding. This is where you're close to God, in the sense of God being all possibilities. You represent a piece of all possibilities, because through you, certain things are possible. You know what I'm saying? Your version of all possibilities is possible based upon your gifts, attributes, and talents that are specific to you. Now, when I talk about gifts, attributes, and talents, the first thing people want to do is run and figure out how they can link that to the physical world and create some kind of business or sustainable way to make a living off of those things. And in a lot of ways, that is what you should probably be participating or doing with your gifts. You know, if you have a gift, you know, that really needs to be what your career is built off of, because, you know, again, the second house in general is all about gifts, values, and what you offer to the world. So in a sense, that seed is really part of what we're talking about now. And then, of course, you take it to the sixth house and you make it a routine, you make it a certain lifestyle for you. You know, ninth house I like to look at as the lifestyle, but also the sixth house, because it's more of a practical version of a lifestyle, the routine and pattern, what it actually takes on a day-to-day basis to maintain a certain thing. You know what I'm saying? So without a sixth house, you wouldn't be able to keep up a routine or make something consistent or make something work or improve upon something enough to make it more accurate, and that would completely, because the better you know how to work on it, and being aware of the cracks and crevices, and knowing how to, or being willing to experiment, or, you know, that mutable energy of Virgo, being able to try different ways of being practical towards a certain subject, you would be able to shape and perfect the execution, which takes place in the 10th house, where you now initiate that seed. You actually push that idea, that seed, that talent, that gift into the real world for it to materialize and become something you can look at as a status. And the status is really another word for a foundation. The idea of a foundation, though, came from that second house. How that foundation stood the test of time is determined by how well it's kept in the sixth house. And then that foundation becomes a solid platform in the 10th house. So this is how you understand just how to go about your earthly, you know, whatever you're trying to do is something that'll give you stability, or something you want to be known for. And you want to be known for a talent, a gift, or something that you actually have that's valuable to the world, that no one else can offer. Even if other people offer it, there's a certain uniqueness to yours. And see, this is even highly emphasized due to Uranus being a Taurus. It's like the more unique to you it is, that seed, the more prosperous or longevity it can have, just based upon you. Because when you adopt somebody else's idea and you try to build it up, say you heard somebody else who had a business idea and you decided to take it on as your own and create a business around that, it's going to lack certain things that make something worth like a household brand, something that ain't going away, something that lasts the test of time, because there's a certain connection you have to something that you created from nothing, that because again, it's coming from a space that you knew. So when you create something from the ground up, and you have something, an idea that you took from a space that it wasn't no representation of that here yet, you brought that here. And this is like when you really are listening to your spiritual predecessors. This is when you're really in touch with yourself, to a space where when you meditate, you go to that space that only you know. You know, you go to that inner world and you start to really interact with the beings there and understanding the inner workings of your own story. You know what I'm saying? Your own mystery. This is like you going through your own mystery school to catch you up on what you've been actually experiencing. And in this experience, in this lifetime, you're having, you know, you're in a space where you're able to look at that shit. And this is like if you ever was searching on the internet and you were getting into like Akashic records, this is basically what that is. You going down your Rolodex of all the different experiences you've had throughout many bodies. And, you know, again, when we are born into new bodies, depending on how tightly you were holding on to the last one, you might not remember as many things from that blank slate. Because again, even when we talk about spirituality and why it's more favorable to you than religion, is because when you look at spirituality, it's going to the raw root of things for you to actually solve those and solve those inner traumas and know how to think in this world. When you take religion on, you have to go through many different filters, because it's somebody else's mind that you're borrowing, somebody else's worldview that you're borrowing to see, somebody else's glasses. You know, you put on somebody else's glasses, their prescription ain't yours. So your eyes have to adjust, and in the process of adjusting to seeing through those lenses, it damages your eyes. So that's how you got to look at spiritual systems. You adopt a religion, yeah, it's something that might just be something you can adjust to and see maybe a tiny bit better than before, but it's going to do more damage than good. It's going to deteriorate your ability to just see what's going on in front of you. And this is how you get caught in religion, and that re-energy of having to redo life, or living your life in a way of not fully experienced. And you reincarnate, you get caught in a recycle, basically, because you didn't get a chance to expand and experience the things you wanted to while you were in this body. It's a difference between being aware of what you shouldn't do versus being restricted based upon somebody else's morality or somebody else's worldview, because that just builds up resentment. And the resentment, it might look like it's outward towards somebody else who put you in that restriction, but it's really an inner resentment towards yourself, because your spirit, your body wants to get when it gets your spirit, your human side, your human natures, your lower natures, things that cling to survival and animalistic natures. Those things went against what your spirit wanted to do. So it's like the equivalent of you knowing better and you still fucking up, and there's nobody to blame but yourself. And that's what the spirit feels. It feels that immense pressure in your spirit when it doesn't need to. It doesn't like to stay in that space. You're dirtying up that pureness. You're bringing dirty shit from the animalistic natures to the spiritual realm, and you're fucking your own spirit over. Your mind is betraying your heart type vibe. You know what I'm saying? You're letting your mind. You're not controlling your mind. Your mind is starting to control you, and it's starting to make you anxious about certain things that as a spirit you're beyond. So if you as a spirit start to believe that you actually are these lower natures that you created in the first place, you weaken yourself. That's weakening you. That literally makes you vulnerable vulnerable and exposed and easily destroyed by your own doing. This is the real self-undoing, if we're talking about it. When you unfold on yourself, it's like now you've turned it's almost like a Frankenstein story where you created your mind and you let your mind run amok, and now it's ready to kill you. So it's like Frankenstein going to kill the creator of him, like his creator, like, you know what I'm saying? And the only reason it happens like that is because you didn't raise your mind. You didn't create your mind in a way where you were actually a good parent to it. You didn't treat your mind with the same level of care as something that you brought into the world. You created your mind and you let it run amok. Then it went out and learned a bunch of other shit. Now that shit is the same thing that's coming back to the home to ruin everything you did because you betrayed it. You didn't show it how to properly do things. And see, this is a metaphor for the trauma that we go through as individuals. Even when you look at your own life and in your relationship with your parents, there's certain things they couldn't protect you from. And what do? You go out in the world and you learn what it really is. And see, the thing is, the less that connection was with your parents, the less frame of reference you're going to have as you're building these new awarenesses. And as you're building these awarenesses, that is the pain and suffering you go through in those negative spaces are all the pain and resentment that you misplace towards your parents, and you project onto them as they're the reason because they didn't prepare you for what was actually to come. You had to figure it out on your own, and they were somebody that you trusted with that responsibility. And so in a way, you create your mind, but your mind trusts your spirit, or your mind it needs to trust your spirit to have, and that's like having confidence in a nutshell. Your brain has to trust your spirit that it's going to make it through all these different things, and that it's aware of things that the brain cannot yet see and understand. And that's how you have a proper way of controlling your mind rather than the adverse, which is your mind controlling you, overthinking, over worrying, doubting things that, again, your spirit is the one orchestrating your shit. So it's like, it's the ultimate betrayal, but this is what we do to our own self. You know what I'm saying? This is the loop that we get caught in, the cycle that we get caught in based upon just not knowing where to stop it, not knowing what we actually have power over. And you created this mind, so you got authority over what it intakes and what it doesn't. And that's where perspective comes in, because based upon your ability, because you as a spirit, regardless of what you're going through, you have the ability to go anywhere you want. It's only when you forget and you start to restrict yourself based upon the circumstances that you're going through on the human experience, then it's like, damn, I can't move. You are putting yourself at a disadvantage when you as a spirit can literally go anywhere. And again, it's easier to understand. It's easier when you're saying it, but when you're actually going through it, you don't realize how much, we relinquish power. You know what I'm saying? Give power away to nothing, to our own fear. And it's almost like we create our own monsters, and these things come and combat us, and we waste a lot of time in life basically fighting ourselves when we really, there's other things to be fighting, aka you on your path fighting. Well, you're always going to be in a fight with yourself, but it's like that kind of fight is a fight where you're pushing your limits, you're pushing your boundaries, you're expanding. So it's a whole different type of vibe, or a whole different type of experience than you fighting yourself based upon your insecurities. You know what I'm saying? When you're in the space of just fighting your insecurities and you're still dealing with your triggers, it's like you're doing shadow work, but you know what I'm saying? And it's progress in and of itself, but it's one of those things where at some point you're going to have to get through that and get to the next step of things, which is starting to, purposely put yourself outside these comfort zones. Because a lot of times people be triggered in their own comfort zone. Like you're in that spot, you're a little too complacent, so something's going to come to shake things up. But you're in your comfort zone, and you haven't even stepped out yet, but you're dealing with insecurities. You're an insecure person, but you run and put a lot of things as a shielding to keep you from actually doing the work. This is when you kind of build up a lot of extra shit, and things start falling in your life that you don't even see how you manifested it, but it started from little shit that you wasn't handling in the beginning of things, ways you was thinking, feelings that you were catching that you didn't figure a way out of, right, or resolve within yourself, that ended up sprouting into full-grown fruits of that negative labor. You know what I'm saying? You put a lot of time into being in a negative space, procrastinating, waiting on this, feeling this way towards this person and not expressing it, or, you know, certain whatever resentment, whatever's on your heart that's making it heavy. You know what I'm saying? Because we all go through that little time with Mayat, where we gotta measure things up. And again, justice will be served. You only get what you deserve. So it's like you be in a situation where there's no one to blame but yourself for the shit that you're going through, based upon what you know you already been participating in. And sometimes it's not fair, or it seems like it's not fair, but that's the thing. The only thing fair is the fact that you get what you deserve. So you put the time and energy into the different spaces, you put your spirit in different areas, and you start to attract different awareness, you get different results. And see, sometimes we always going through a battle, but sometimes you got to go through a little extra fire, and we go through certain transits that stretch us to our limits. And in those moments, it's what the universe want to see. See, even in this area, this space that we in, we are going through a shift. There's things happening, and then you just understand the seasons for what they are. We in a mutable part of the winter, going into spring. There's new birth in the air. So it's a very strong energy of understanding. Okay, what is it that what am I bringing into this new life? What am I constructing for myself? You know what I'm saying? And that's on a yearly basis, but we also need to do that pretty much all in the minute areas of our life. You know what I'm saying? Individually. So you just being in the circumstance you in, you really got to understand where you at and how you feel, and be like, okay, where am I stepping? What, you know, and this is all going back to being intentional and becoming a better magician with life in general. You know what I'm saying? Knowing, okay, this is how I'm moving. Because that's really what you got to understand about the spirit too. The spirit moves. Things in the human body, these things like to stay stagnant, but they expire. But spirit moves. Spirit can't be in one place for too long. So you're constantly moving. And this is your spirit isn't your thoughts and feelings, but understand that thoughts and feelings move similarly in the fact that you have trillions of thoughts throughout the day, trillions of feelings that you just, and it's always trying to keep and maintain a vibe is, I'm not gonna say it's difficult, because you can maintain a vibe, but again, think about all the different vibes that come and affect that vibe. That vibe is not the same from the beginning of the day to the end. Even if you tried your hardest to feel the same way, you might still be in that general space, but there's new information there, and that new information by default is going to redefine that space in general. And that's where we say the only thing constant is change, because things are always changing. Again, it's minute, so you might not see it and be like being able to see the results of small changes in a certain amount of time, or until a certain amount of time has passed. But that just gives you, again, everything is a progression. Even how I be talking about transits, you see them. It started here, it's moving constantly. They're always moving. So you as a spirit, you gotta understand that motion and accept the fact that because when you cling too much to the human shit, this is where you want shit to last forever, and you convince yourself that it lasting forever. It's almost like not wanting to let go of a feeling, and it's like some things feel that good that we don't want to let go of it. But again, we have to be willing to, because sometimes, again, what you hold on to can be the very same thing that come back and become your hindrance, become your crutch. You know what I'm saying? And like the people create crutches out of feelings, out of people, out of thoughts all day, every day, and it prohibits them. Again, just like a crutch. When you want a crutch, you don't got movement. You're hurt. You know what I'm saying? You're limping. You don't have mobility like you would if you were without the crutch. You know what I'm saying? Without the crutch, you can run, jump, go any direction you want. With the crutch, you can only go at a certain pace, and so a part of your body is out of commission. So a part of your awareness is out of commission, and you can only move in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? And this is what people do. They create crutches out of spiritual systems, out of anything, drugs. You know what I'm saying? I can't do nothing without that drug. You gotta understand what you're saying to yourself without words. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes people just be doing what they want to do, but they don't realize what they're actually communicating through their actions to the universe, to God and shit like that, because that's that whole concept. God sees everything. You're not getting nothing past, so you might think, well, you know, I got this one crutch, but you know, that's not really important in the grand scheme of my life, because I got so many other things going on. But you'll start to realize all those other things that you think you got going on ain't moving as efficient And that's a battle we all got to deal with, because we all need, at the same time, something that we can cling to, something that we can build, because that's part of the experience that we have. And those animalistic natures type shit, they need something to create shelter that can be consistent and they can depend on for a certain amount of time, an extended period of time, I'll say. Things changes too rapidly. This is people who, you look at the lifestyle of a person who's homeless, where, again, there's no telling what'll happen. And that's the number one thing that creates anxiety amongst us in that animal side of us, in that human experience, is not knowing what's going to come tomorrow and having to do something for survival now. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the thing. Not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow links us back to survival mode. And that survival mode, we know the pace of that is in a way that doesn't leave a lot of room for expansion and growth. I mean, it does. It's rapid expansion, rapid growth, because you're just going through experiences. But that shit becomes very chaotic, and that can wear and tear on, you if you're not that type of person, to always be in that state. You know what I'm saying? We need balance too. You know what I'm saying? We need a little bit of that fast shit in our life, but we also need periods of time where we can slow and smell the roses type vibe, where we can understand what's going on, and learn, settle, heal, rest, and then get back into the rush, get back into the fight, and you know what I'm saying? But when people are operating off of survival mode, it's hard to connect to the higher body, because it's not there. It's all concentration needs to be in that lower chakra, so it knows what to do on a dime. It doesn't have enough time to do this, enough to do that, you know what I'm saying? Or actually things slow, and that's the irony. Things are moving so fast, but what's going on is actually vibrating very slow. And vice versa, when you in those higher natures and shit like that, it's like things seem like they're taking longer, but actually they happen a lot quicker. You know what I'm saying? Because you in that space and you creating that magic already. But for it to materialize, it's like it happens way quicker, but it seems slower because it's not right there in front of you. But when you're dealing with lower natures and shit, lower vibrations, it's like things seem like they coming quick. You getting a shortcut, but once you get it, it's like short-lived. You know what I'm saying? And it go real fast, or it's a cat and mouse game where you think you got it, but then you open your hands and it's like, oh damn, that shit way over there. I missed it. You know what I'm saying? Or it's just out of reach. You know what I'm saying? Just out of reach energy. When you're doing all this rushing, you think you're getting a shortcut, but there's always just something else you gotta do. Always just a little bit more you gotta reach that you just can't get to. And you gotta, let me try it again. But but that's the vibrating slow, and it tricks you, because everything here is the reverse, so it tricks you to think that's the way to do it. All those quick get money schemes and shit like that, yeah, you might got a couple dollars here and there, but energetically that shit go in so many different directions. Whether you just don't get that money, you get scammed, or that money is always needed for some extracurricular activity that you didn't even want to do in the first place. So it's like money that you really ain't even have in the first place, because it's gone in the wind, just like that, as quick as it came. And then vice versa, something that came from more of a pure space in those higher natures and shit like that, it'd be something that seemed like it was going to be last forever, but you had that faith in it. And that's the word I wanted to use a little earlier, faith. But yeah, you got that faith in it, and it's like it materialized in a way that might not even look like how you originally thought it would come, but it falls right in your lap, or you know what I'm saying, you see it in a way trickling down. Even if it seems like it's still a period of time before you get it, you see representations of it coming your way a lot quicker than all those shortcuts and shit like that. And that happens right when you just submit and just put in the work. You know what I'm saying? In this world, it seems like, damn, like if you want to do that, you might start thinking about all the things it's taking to get there. But if you just put your head down and start doing the work, it's like all possibilities. You don't know what's going to transpire for whatever length, because that's the thing. You don't know when things are going to come. So things look like they're going to take a long time. You use your human brain to be like, oh shit, like, well, I kind of want it now, or I need it now. So you jump to the lower and then you say, nah, I'm going to just do this quick thing. I'm going to just get this quick money real quick, and then boom. But that be the very same thing that sent you 10 steps back. You know what I'm saying? But when you put things in perspective and jump into your gifts, talents, and what you got to offer to the world, your gifts, talents, and what's unique to you, and you start developing your own unique process for it, that's what gets you there. Even if it does take time, because everything will take time. But even if your overarching goal takes time, there will be things that you receive as small wins gonna feel like, oh, it happened like that. And even though you went through the struggle and shit like that, you're not gonna feel 100% like that. But for the most part, you be like, oh, okay, it's finally happening. And you're gonna look back and realize all the work you did, and be like, damn, I did all that. Like, it's almost like the work you do, because when you're really on your purpose and on your mission and shit, it's like the work you did. It's almost like not even though you was going through it and you was fighting through it in the midst of it, expanding yourself, learning new things, seeing new things, trying new things, experimenting, you still look at it and be like, damn, like, I forgot I did that. I forgot I spent X amount of time right here. Like, damn, I didn't even realize how many songs I made in this interim. Like, how many of these I made, or how much I created here, or how much time I spent here. Damn, that shit flew by because it's something you wanted to do. It's something you enjoyed, something that was connected to you, that, you know, you was meant to do. Because when it's shit that you was meant to do, time is non-existent. You start to hit Neptune, imagination and fantasies and creative, and creating something that wasn't here before. Magic, real magic. But when it's something that you didn't want to do, it feels more like Saturn, responsibility, something that you just had to toughen up and get through. And it takes a long time, but it's sturdy and it's workable once it's finished. You know, both of them are necessary. One is not better than the other because the other one comes with illusions. You know what I'm saying? And having blind faith at times, and making mistakes in that area where you jumped the gun and you didn't have nothing to land on, and you fell flat on your ass, and learn how to not trust every illusion that come around. You feel me? So, you know, it's all different things. But you as a being, you as an individual spirit, the only thing you are entitled to in this world is your own perspective. So keep that in mind too. Honor that. Honor your perspective. Be willing to listen to other people's perspectives to expand your own. And then share your perspective when it's necessary, when it's appropriate. You know what I'm saying? And have discernment about that, because sometimes it's not always appropriate to share your perspective. I mean, again, at the same time, it's maybe it's needed, because, you know what I'm saying, it's all, and that just comes down to your own discretion. But the point is, it's the only thing you're entitled to. So somebody else's perspective, you can't be entitled to that. They gotta be free to believe whatever they believe in, or believe. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean you can't offer your shit, but you're not entitled to that. Nor are you entitled to people's behavior. So don't feel guilty for somebody else's way of going about the world. That's theirs. Or don't feel ashamed of your own. Stand up for your own, because that's the only thing you're entitled to. And if you don't like how you feel about your own philosophies, about your own perspective, due to what somebody else said, well, then consider that and expand yourself, rather than put on a false sense of, oh, I hate that person, or, you know what I'm saying, false, antagonist theory, where you start to create an antagonist out of everybody who go against you, the way you see the world. Because that's not the answer either. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a negative truth in everything, and we gotta understand, like, even when we say certain shit, like, everything happens for a reason. It's like we engage in certain conversations for a reason. We pick up on certain words for a reason. You know what I'm saying? We're going through this experience. There's so many things happening, but we only hone in and actually remember small portions, or be aware of small portions. So understand that sometimes you gotta observe certain things that you just hear. You know what I'm saying? And like, why did I hone in on that word in that person's sentence? Especially when you misinterpret, like somebody said something, and you like, oh wait, what you say? And there's only, there's a phrase and stuff like that. You like, why do I like? And it's like, you ain't gotta drive yourself crazy with shit like that. But that's the type of shit you gotta understand, because you as an observer, as a spirit, you can derive meaning at a certain thing, but that might drive you crazy. You know what I'm saying? To do it too much and shit like that. Sometimes people go overboard, overthink, and destroy things based upon them being too much in their head, too much in they, too much in the 7th, 8th, and 9th dimension. You know what I'm saying? Too much trying to derive all these higher meanings and shit. Like, sometimes you just gotta experience. Really, that's what you gotta do. You gotta experience things, and from the experience, extract the meaning of it. But at the same time, just to close this out, like that's kind of how it be. So, keep that in mind. You are entitled to your own perspective, though, and your own understanding of the world, and that's it. And even that, you gotta understand where that has been borrowed, because your perspective might be an amalgamation of a bunch of other people's ways of thinking about the world, and so you gotta check yourself too. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, again, and I say entitled to it as meaning that you have the power to change it. You don't have the power to change somebody else's view. They gotta decide that for themselves. You can make a good point. You can make them aware of certain stuff, but you don't have that power. Everybody got their own power in their own self to change, to either go with what you're saying or deny it. And that's a whole different conversation. But you have the power and the authority to change your own shit. And you get a lot more things going in your favor when you do that, because the other way around, you get blood on your hands. You become responsible for whatever this person experiences with their new awareness that you gave them from your perspective. And the only reason you're responsible for it is because it's your perspective. So they're going to come to you for reference and more information on how you see the world. It's like the thing about being a teacher too, that you got to be careful of, and why you should always separate yourself from the lessons. When you get too personal and everything is like some shit that you going through, and that they, you trying to teach people, they start to go through things trying to be like you if they're not aware. And this is how you get blood on your hands, by proxy. All of a sudden they blame you for things not going in their right, like going right in their life, based upon what they was lost in. And that's a fine line that you got to be able, especially if you on the internet or just in general kicking game and trying to teach people and shit, that you got to be aware of too, because people will take your advice real quick. Because again, it's scary out here sometimes for a human. It's scary for a human, a spirit who forgot that it's a spirit and it's just in this human experience. The first thing that looked like a lifeboat to get them out of that anxiety feeling of not knowing what's gonna happen tomorrow, they're jumping on. So that's why they fall for all the positive vibrations only and shit like that, pages and shit like that. That's why they fall for that shit, because they need that shit, something to get them through the night. They need a tarot card that's gonna tell them that their ex is thinking about them and that they're gonna live happily ever after if they just, whatever they do. They need a tarot card that's going to say, hey, tomorrow the sun is going to shine, don't worry. They need a horoscope that's going to say, yeah, all Cancers, Leos, and you're going to get $1 million tomorrow because they low on rent. If you're about to lose your apartment, don't worry, because you're going to manifest a whole lot of money next week, and it's going to come to you like this. Like, people cling to that shit because they need it, because they, again, it's called a crutch. That crack, that spiritual crack. They're like, oh yeah, I need a hit of that. They start tweaking, start getting mad at people in their personal life and blaming people for shit that they did, that they put themselves into. But that's a whole different conversation. Anyway, much love, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.